But I tell you, if you have a problem figuring out whether you're for me or Trump, then you ain't black. Poor kids are just as bright and just as talented as white kids.
I mean, you got the first sort of mainstream African American who is articulate and bright and clean, nice-looking guy.
My Democratic colleagues don't like me saying this. I think the two-party system is good for the South and good for the black. Other than the fact that they still call me boy, I think they've changed their mind a little bit.
As also noted, Robert C. Byrd was a parliamentary library, a keeper of the institution of the Senate, and he was the institution itself. For a lot of us, he was a friend, and he was a mentor, and he was a guide. You cannot go to a 7-Eleven or a Dunkin' Donuts unless you have a slight Indian accent. Unlike the African-American community, with notable exceptions, the Latino community is an incredibly diverse community. They're going to put you all back in chains.
If Haiti just quietly sunk into the Caribbean or rose up 300 feet, it wouldn't matter a whole lot.
The reason I was able to stay sequestered in my home is because some black woman was able to stack the grocery shelf. Unless we do something about that cadre of young people, tens of thousands of them, born out of wedlock, without parents, without supervision, without any structure, without any conscience developing. There's about 100,000 of them, if you want to be rhetorically extreme about it, who are the predators. They are beyond the pale, many of those people. We have no choice but to take them out of society. It's awful hard as well to get Latinx vaccinated as well. Why? They're worried that they'll be vaccinated and deported.
Because I was 29, I'm like the token black or the token woman. I was the token young person.
Even call centers was rushed overseas in the hundreds of thousands.
How many times you get the call? I'd like to talk to you about your credit card.
But there's one more band member that I want you to meet. Ladies and gentlemen, our vocalist tonight, Michael Jackson. Michael, would you please stand?
He lied to voters, according to the New York Times, quoting aides of Biden's, about having marched in the civil rights movement.
And I got involved in the civil rights movement just as a kid.
I came out of the civil rights movement. I was one of those guys that sat in and marched and all that stuff.
And the New York Times reports, quote, more than once, advisors had gently reminded Mr. Biden of the problem with this formulation. He had not actually marched during the civil rights movement, and more than once, Mr. Biden assured them that he understood and kept telling the story anyway. That is really, really weird.
One chapter receiving fresh scrutiny comes from his earliest years in the Senate, when he strongly opposed mandatory school busing. It was designed to achieve integration and a more equitable education. What's less known is how he followed the lead of some of the Senate's most fervent segregationists.
Working with segregationists on an anti-busing agenda is very scary.
1977, Biden worried that his children would grow up in a, quote, racial, his words, jungle if integration is not done in a, quote, orderly way, whatever that means.
On March 25th, 1977, Biden wrote, "My bill strikes at the heart of the injustice of court-ordered busing. It prohibits the federal courts from disrupting our educational system." Biden sought and received support from Mississippi Senator James Eastland, the Democratic chairman of the Judiciary Committee, and a leading symbol of Southern resistance to desegregation.
21 senators from the South were Democrats. How many of them became Republicans after the Civil Rights Act? The answer, 1. The other 20 stayed Democrats. In 1952, Eisenhower did not win a ton of the South. Eisenhower did win, however, 7 states in the South in 1956, after he sent federal troops down south. The reason that the Republican Party started to win in the South, it began in the 1950s, not after the 1964 Civil Rights Act, and it was largely due to the movement of industry down south. It was new fringe members of the Republican Party, younger members of the Republican Party, who switched over to the Republican Party in the South, not old Democrats, who remained old Democrats and are still old Democrats today.
I think the concept of busing, which implicit in that concept is the question you just asked, or the statement within the question you just asked, that we are going to integrate people so that they all have the same access and they learn to grow up with one another and all the rest, is a rejection of the whole movement of black pride, is a rejection of the entire black awareness concept, where black is beautiful, black culture should be studied, and a cultural awareness of the importance of their own identity, their own individuality. And I think that's a healthy, solid...
And the court cited every major crime bill, every minor crime bill, has had the name of the Democratic senator from the state of Delaware, Joe Biden, on that bill.
We do everything but hang people for jaywalking in this bill.
I mean, you got the first sort of mainstream African American who was articulate and bright and clean and a nice-looking guy. I mean, that's a storybook, man.
You cannot go to a 7-Eleven or a Dunkin' Donuts unless you have a slight Indian accent. I'm not joking.
I spent last summer going through the black sections of my town, holding rallies in parks, trying to get black men to understand it's not unmanly to wear a condom, getting women to understand they can say no, getting people in the position where testing matters. I got tested for AIDS. I know Barack got tested for AIDS. There's no shame in being tested for AIDS.
Romney wants to he said in the first 100 days, he's going to let the big banks once again write their own rules. Unchain Wall Street. They're going to put you all back in chains. Who most foreign policy experts around the world say is the wisest man in the Orient. Large, very identifiable Somali community. I might add, if you ever come to the train station with me, you'll notice that I have great relationships with them because there's an awful lot of driving cabs. We have this notion that somehow if you're poor, you cannot do it. Poor kids are just as bright and just as talented as white kids.
What responsibility do you think that Americans need to take to repair the legacy of slavery in our country?
We bring social workers into homes of parents to help them deal with how to raise their children. It's not that they don't want to help, they don't know quite what to do. I recognize that kid wearing a hoodie may very well be the next poet laureate and not a gangbanger. You got more questions, but I tell you, if you have a problem figuring out whether you're for me or Trump, then you ain't black. By the way, what you all know, but most people don't know, unlike the African American community, with notable exceptions, the Latino community is an incredibly diverse community with incredibly different attitudes about different things.
Have you taken a cognitive...
No, I haven't taken a test. Why the hell would I take a test? Come on, man. That's like saying you, before you got in this program, you take a test where you're taking cocaine or not. What do you think, huh? Are you a junkie? What do you see? You see, geez, the reason I was able to stay sequestered in my home is because some black woman was able to stack the grocery shelf. Young black entrepreneurs are just as capable of succeeding given the chance as white entrepreneurs are. But they don't have lawyers.
What kind of a chance would a northeastern liberal like Joe Biden stand in the South if you were running in Democratic primaries against Southerners like Mark Warner and John Edwards?
Better than anybody else. And you don't know my state. My state was a slave.
The left has convinced so many people that Donald Trump is racist, and in no way, shape, or form is Joe Biden racist at all. I would say that these clips say otherwise. So share it with your Democrat friends, anyone who needs to see it, and don't let your lying eyes deceive you.
Do you know why Trump's a racist? Let me explain this to you and make it very clear. It's because in 1977, he was against desegregation. He did not want his kids to grow up in a racial jungle. He was basically saying, I don't want my kids growing up with black kids, so we shouldn't desegregate. He wanted to keep segregation. Here's what he said. He said, oh, wait. Oh, no, it was Biden. Biden said that. Biden, oh.
White supremacist. How? How can you say that? How can I say if you vote for Donald Trump, you're a white supremacist? How? How? Because you support that man in office. That's not an argument. I'm gonna need proof that makes me a white supremacist. You're gonna have to break down the argument. That's not my job to say that. You just accused me of being a white supremacist. You should be able to back that up. Are you voting for Donald Trump? I sure am. That's my proof. Are you voting for Joe Biden? Yes, I am. Then you're a pedophile. No. Yes, you are. A pedophile. You're a pedophile. How? You like to sniff kids.